My boyfriend didn't want to pay $200 to save my life. I was at a bar with my boyfriend and his friends a while ago. We all had a great time, dancing on tables, singing and drinking. I remember feeling totally fine 1 second, and the next I got super unsteady, and I lost connection with my body. I was confused and scared, shifting between multiple emotions within a span of seconds. I fell unconscious, and according to my boyfriend, the few times I opened my eyes I looked extremely scared. He was told to find a taxi and get me to the emergency room immediately. He managed to get me into the taxi, and as we started to drive off, the driver told my boyfriend that he would have to pay $200 extra if I threw up in the car. My boyfriend then stopped the driver and told him he'd rather walk over to the emergency room. I was still unconscious and he didn't know why or if my life was at risk. Luckily for me, the police were driving around and saw me as I was lying on the ground. They asked my boyfriend what was going on with me, and when he explained the situation they drove us to the emergency room, using the lights and sirens to get me there as fast as possible. They took my state very seriously, and without them my boyfriend would have been lucky to even get me to the emergency room in a couple hours. Turns out someone had slipped substances in my drink that night and my condition only got worse. My boyfriend had forced me to walk with shaky legs from the emergency room the day after I had been admitted, and the walk that should have usually taken me 20 minutes took more than 2 hours. During our walk my boyfriend started talking about the fact that he could have been in my position and felt like he might have gotten a little slipped into his drink as well, but he didn't feel weird at all that night, so he couldn't be sure. He then went on to tell me that he had to pay $40 for the little taxi ride we took, and it sounded as if he was asking me to pay him back, which admittedly upset me. Because I was trying to come to terms with the fact that someone had tried and failed to do something terrible to me the night before, while all he seemed to care about was how much the taxi cost him. He then looked up symptoms related to what had happened to me and found out that one of the long-term symptoms would mostly consist of trauma. The next weekend when we were hanging out with his friends, they talked about that night and even joked a little about the fact that someone had slipped me something, and it made me feel awful. My boyfriend has also been ignoring me ever since the incident, especially when I voiced my concerns that I felt someone had been following me the other day. He never seemed to care about me walking around town at night, but if any of his female friends did, he'd always make sure to be by their side and escort them home. He argues with me when I'm scared instead of making me feel better or protecting me. This can't be normal behavior. I'm beginning to wonder if this relationship is even worth it anymore. I'm a bit scared that I might be overreacting, but most of this was told from his perspective, as I don't remember anything that happened that night.